What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mongol, sponsored by Roughneck Scarves. I'm Mike. With me is Kevin Josh. The Hounds picked up 3 massive points in Hartford, and now get ready for their last midweek game of the season. But first, victory beverage. Josh, what are we having this evening, my friend?
Sour Monkey.
Sour Monkey.
It's a sour beer. I like sour beer.
Hold on, wait. Hold on real quick. Kev, if you had to guess what Sour Monkey tastes like.
I was going to say
it's sour beer. But it's called Sour Monkey. Why the monkey?
Probably, okay, where do monkeys reside? I don't know where they reside.
I'm thinking way too far into this, guys. It's called Sour Monkey because one of Victory's other kind of famous beers is the Golden Monkey. So it's kind of like a play on that, is what I gather. Because I remember Golden Monkey was huge, one of their bigger beers for a while. So this is the Sour Monkey.
Good.
It's good. I like sour beers. I've been really into sour beers this year for some reason.
It's good. It's a little disappointing. Now it makes me wonder if I were ever to name
beer or the year.
The name.
People are more meaning behind that name. I'm sure there is. I haven't read the cue card about this. I don't know if there's some, kind of like the equivalent of a Crest explainer graphic, but for beer. I'm sure they have those.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have a competition, so you can come up with the best beer name. But you'd have to have we'd have to have a beer tasting and then a competition for the name. I'm thinking way too much about this.
Okay, yeah.
And we've overspent the victory donation for this, so we should just move on. Kev, what's new with you?
Parents visited.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So got to see them. It was their first trip since the pandemic started, which I, for some reason, didn't know. So they made the trip down to Pittsburgh and Knoxville, and it was good. It was good to see them. Mainly just hung out in their Airbnb and drank and ate. So that was pretty nice. But very hot in Knoxville. We tried to go out and see a bird park, but a birding park at 11:30 in the afternoon with 91-degree heat is not the best idea, but we tried anyway. But yeah, it was good.
So are you implying that you're the favorite brother out of the two of you that moved away? They picked to go to see you before?
I love how he added of the brother that moved away, not including me in that category. So yeah,
they can see you.
The other brother sees them all the time. So
okay.
He just comes in from Pittsburgh, not all the time, but
so he actually visits, unlike you.
Yes, exactly.
I was gonna say Jason is in once a quarter.
Yeah. I am the lowest on the totem pole. That is no question.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah. I will say this: you say that it's super hot in Knoxville right now. Are you wearing a jacket?
Honestly, it's just because so it's 75 degrees in we have the AC at 75 degrees. It's just been a long day, and I just want to feel comfy. I just want to feel comforted, and so.
Is that your comforted move? The Carl Krauser? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little sweater.
That's a deep cut for those of you Pitt fans. Okay, well, good. Yeah, I got a phone call today. The parents made it home safely. So thanks for making sure they make it home safely.
For all those listeners that care about the update.
That's right. We've literally narrowed the scope of people who are enjoying what we're talking about to one person, and he's not listening because it's our other brother. So nobody cares. Josh, it looked like you and Liz were maybe making the rounds and sampling some of the finer goods at local establishments this weekend.
Yeah, so we went to Millvale to check out 2 breweries, and when you're in Millvale, you have to go to the Attic record shop. So we also went to the Attic, but we went to Grist House, which I've had Grist House beer, and I like their beer, but I've never been to the brewery itself, and they just have a giant open space for people, and it's a dog friendly. They have lawn games there, lots of benches and tables outside. It was pretty cool, and we got there right when they opened, so it was empty. So it was kind of nice to be this. Wow, this place is huge and all to us. Then after that, we went to Strange Root, which is the other brewery down there, and it was cool. Strange Root, I think, is a much more small brewery. It feels much more quaint and small. they had country music playing, so it was automatically a negative score. But the beer was good though. So yeah, it was a fun time. And I got a lot of stuff at the attic, a lot of records.
That was the brewery equivalent of saying, like, the home is cozy, or like it's cozy, right? Like you always say that. It's like when it's small, like, oh, it's cozy.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It was small, but it was still nice. They were out of stickers. Was a negative, because anytime I go to a brewery, I like to get a sticker pack so that way I can put it on the cooler, the tailgating cooler.
You're like, country music, no stickers. That's 2 strikes, man. One more, and you're not getting mentioned on the pod. So
they had a bean burger though, so that was cool. I actually could eat there, which was nice. So a positive there, and their beer was good. So there you go. It evened out.
Mike, you look like you're scrambling for something.
Sorry, I was, because my phone started ringing, but I couldn't see where I put it. So like I heard it, and so I was just like looking all over for it. It's probably going to ring again.
Professionalism is what you get from the
That's
Mongols podcast.
Right. Nothing but professionalism.
Hey, listen, this is a call that I really should take, so that just sort of shows you my level of commitment at this point as I keep looking down at my phone. Let's move on. Hey guys, the Hounds got 3 massive points against Hartford this weekend. Raise your hand if you thought it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
2 out of 3 hands up in the air. Kev, tell us why you actually thought the Hounds were going to pull out this win.
Well, it all depends. Like before the game, I thought we were.
No.
I'm talking during the game. Come on.
Oh, okay. No, for sure. Yes. Then my hand would have been up too. I just didn't really understand the question.
Okay. So I guess in terms of takeaways, first of all, we're still having. I posted it on Twitter to all of the like popular stats people in the USL, and no one has gotten back to me. Is that the fastest pen in USL history? It was like 14 seconds, 17 seconds, something like that when Dixon got dragged down. I mean, that was insane. It was a pen for sure, but Dixon, who got 2 pens for us in this game, one of which we converted. Hartford also got a pen. It was nuts. This game was kind of nuts. It had a little bit of everything. Josh, give me a takeaway here.
I mean, first off, to set the scene, I don't know if people saw on the socials, but we had a watch party. The Steel Army did. So it's our first watch party since all of the things of the world that's been going on. So it's been a long time. We had a watch party at Bulldog Pub in Morningside, and it was kind of just happenstance because like we had a couple TVs, and he's like, and Jesse, the owner, is like, yeah, you guys can have the sound. And then it kind of just happened that we got more and more people coming in and sitting at the bar. So he like started switching more and more TVs to the Hounds until by the time the game started, all 5 TVs were on the Hounds. Nice. And everyone there was either a Hounds fan or they're like locals who didn't really care about what was going on at first. But then once the cheering started and all the like the oohs and ahs of watching the game, they got into it. And so it just became a situation where the whole bar was just watching the Hounds play. And like every time we like the first pin got them going right away. It was just like action from the get-go. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. It was definitely a new atmosphere for us because usually when we had watch parties in the past, we would be in a private room. So the only people in that room are people who already are Hounds fans. This was one of the first situations where it's like, we're in the pub, we're in the bar proper. And it's just like we're watching the game with everyone else. So that was kind of a fun experience. But yeah, so that setting the stage there. The penalties from first viewing, watching the replays, I felt like almost all of them were kind of soft a little bit. Like that first one, I can understand it being a PK. It was still like, okay, it's a PK, but it's not like I felt indignant about the way it went down.
It was more like, oh, great, somebody just gave us a gift. Like,
yes.
Let's see. Yeah.
Like I wasn't gonna question it. I'm like, all right, cool, it's PK.
Yeah, exactly.
The red card PK later on in the game, I was like, I don't know. That feels kind of harsh. A red card. Like I know if it's a foul, it has to be a red card because it would be denying a clear goal scoring opportunity. But
he was the last man too.
Yes. Logistically, I understand why that is a red, but it felt really harsh to get a red and get a PK in that situation when it was kind of like a softer foul, in my opinion. Again, not gonna question it. It's not like I'm like, oh, I don't know, guys. It's like, nope, cool. But I am happy our game winner came off of. I know it was a corner kick, but it was still like a run and play type feel like situation because it was a rebound after the corner was taken. So
yeah,
but yeah. So the PKs, all of them felt kind of soft to me, and I don't even understand their PK. Like
I was gonna say, yeah,
no clue. It felt like he felt bad that he gave us 2, and he's like, I'll give them 1. Like,
yeah.
Although I don't think that works out for the order they went in, but still.
Yeah, no, it theirs was definitely soft. I don't know. Kev, you were sort of nodding your head. Do you have anything to add to the whole 3 PKs in one game conversation?
I mean, other than just for having 3 PKs for a 5-goal game where a winner comes in the 90th minute, it wasn't a great game. It was really weird to say that because it had all the ingredients of everything, but it was probably the worst game to have in that scenario. I don't think either team played particularly well. Actually, I'll retract that. I think Hartford played pretty well with 10 men. Not pretty well, but like very well. Yeah, if I'm Hartford, I mean, I think we got away with one a bit here.
Yes.
I think when we went down to 10, or when they went down to 10, it didn't look like it. I mean, but we didn't control the game. It felt like they were getting more of the possession, and it honestly felt like just everything was still even. It felt like, every time Hartford would counter, they would counter with 2 guys against our 3 defenders. Every time we would counter, we'd be countering with 2 guys against our 3 defenders. I'm like, where's the man advantage? It's just we weren't connecting passes. We weren't playing well at all. The silver lining around all of this is to say, amid all of that, we still won away from home against a good team. So that alone is great. 3 points, great. I'm all really happy with that. But yeah, we didn't play particularly well. Hartford did. I mean, the atmosphere in Hartford was great. Their pen was ridiculous. I mean, I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, but it's never a pen. I think both are our penalties are, but yeah, the whole red card double jeopardy thing. I don't know the rules around it. It's funny. I mean, all of us watch so much soccer and commentate so much on soccer. I've never read rules. I just go off of what the commentators and announcers say and my understanding of the game. So yeah, it's weird game for everything. It was simultaneously the most drama-filled best game you can hope for and the worst game I've seen in a while.
Yeah, for sure. I feel bad for Dixon, who lined up to take the pen and then missed it. Now he did get a goal later in the game, which that's awesome because I still feel like Dixon has been one of our best players down the stretch here, especially during this whole condensed period. Might be one of the best players of the season. The stats might not completely reflect that, but the way he's been contributing has just been awesome. So, guys, I have
really weird.
Yeah, I'm still not, convinced. I was really happy with Ezra. I thought Ezra played really, really well, made things happen. Ezra Armstrong, yeah. Ezra, who basically led to the second goal, I believe it was, and then he was subbed off for Judge, and still don't know. This is queuing up Laura Ellen to just go crazy on how much she doesn't like Judge.
Well, also what the context of it, right? Because Armstrong didn't start. Armstrong came on as a sub. I forget when, but he came on as a sub.
Yeah,
and played 20 minutes, looked pretty promising, and then was subbed off. I mean, it didn't look like it was an injury. The only thing I can think of as far as tactically was Judge is a bit of a bigger body, and if at the end of the game you're just throwing balls into the box, getting corners, getting set pieces, whatever, the height advantage helps. But that just feels very tactically weird. I don't know. I mean, that was weird. I thought the Armstrong thing was really weird.
I mean, it worked. and we won. So, like,
I mean,
I don't know.
It didn't contribute.
I'm not saying
to
it's
anything.
because of that, but I'm just saying we still won. Like, it's hard for me to be like, tactically, I don't know if that was a correct decision, blah, blah, blah. Because we got the result, and therefore all is forgiven.
Guys, I have a quiz here for you. We're going to see if you guys can figure out the answer to this. Kev, your eyes just got really big. For those of you who are listening live, you guys can try to guess as well. So here we go. What do these players have in common? Steven Dos Santos, Robbie Mertz, Cristiano Francois, and Tyler Pasher. And beyond the fact that they all used to be Hounds. What do Steven Dos Santos, Robbie Mertz, Cristiano Francois, and Tyler Pasher all have in common?
Is it something with like the number of goals they scored in the first season or something? No, that doesn't make sense.
You're close.
Really?
You're getting there. No,
I
Josh,
got nothing.
you nothing?
I have nothing.
Something. No, not something. Not anything against Hartford.
Ready?
Yeah.
None of them individually have more goals this season than Russell Cicerone has in the past 2 games. Russell Cicerone has 5 goals in the past 2 games, and none of those players for their respective teams have more than 5 goals for the entire season. So, for those of you who are like, Cicerone's okay, or like Dixon's okay, when you compare him to some of the players that were like, we lost those guys. Like, we did lose those guys, but like they're not contributing at the same
quiz
level.
Feels very cherry picked. I don't know about that.
that's okay. All right, that's fair, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, going to Cicerone and Dixon, like hands down MVPs, best players that we could have signed. Like they are saving our butts a lot. Like and they're great players, and I'm so happy we have them, and I really want to make sure we keep them for another season at least. Like, come on.
This sort of gets to a point that Adam Marks just shared in our chat on YouTube. Thanks, Adam. He said, in July, Haji Berry signed an extension with the Switchbacks through 2023. Should the Hounds, who've had trouble keeping talent, try to extend players beyond the single additional option year, and would they? So historically, the Hounds have signed players for... Oh, thanks, Adam, again, for the question. Historically, the Hounds have signed players for a 1-season deal with an option for the following year. And then basically after that year, they become free agents, and the Hounds will either try to re-sign them again or, do a whole like year plus another option. They've done this with Kenny, but most players have been here 2-ish years and then they go. What are your guys' thoughts on trying to lock down somebody like, Cicerone mid-season, considering that that's not something that Lily has done before? And I just ran through that list of players that if I had told you in the season they were in, like, they're going to go, you'd be like, no! How do you feel about these mid-season deals?
I mean, technically, both those players, Cicerone and Dixon, have options for 2022. Right. So it's a 1-year deal with an option for 2022. We pick up their options, obviously, for 2022. I guess if the question is, do we try to keep them for even longer?
Yeah. So do we try to sign them for 2022 now with an option for 23?
I mean, I think that'd be smart, but I think it's also going to be a situation where we're going to run into what we always run into, which is, are they going to ask for a pay increase, and is Bob going to deem them worthy of said pay increase? Because they're probably going to be able to get that pay increase if they go somewhere else, because another coach is going to value them for that pay increase.
Especially right now. I mean, with Cicerone, with 5 goals in the past 2 games, like, is this the time to do it?
I think that's partly the question's point, though, is if, okay, let's say we as fans, we're all now just seeing Cicerone and Dixon's, intrinsic value, right? Whereas Bob, seeing them in practice, knowing their ceiling, knows that when he's signing them, and knows that in preseason training camp. By kind of making it a 2-year deal with an option for a 3rd year, you're kind of locking in a contract salary for that player for that time period. So there's no worry. In my opinion, the longer contract only ensures some kind of, it gives you more like room to say like, look, you sign this contract, we're not going to give you this salary bump because like you're locked in for 3 years or whatever. And so I think that's the only reason really to do it, is for some kind of financial.
Do it if you're the Hounds or the player.
The Hounds.
Yeah.
But all of that, it's a good question. It's really complicated. I mean, because I think there's already, that alone, that motion, I think triggers this kind of turning point change in just the entire like financial player structure of the USL of this club. Mertz goes because we have this ethos of like, we don't want to stand in his way. Right. Like in, I forget his name, but that center back we signed in preseason and we let him go because like we didn't want to stand in his way. Right? That was part of so like we accept that we're this level of club that it's like, you know what, come, like it's fine, come here. If you play well and if you push us to higher grounds, we'll benefit from that. You'll benefit from that. If you want to get your move to an MLS club or great, we won't stand in your way, fine. We're a Catholic club. In some degree, almost every USL team is. But by doing this, you're kind of taking a step away from that and saying, like, all right, like we're gonna commit to you. And that could also bite you in the butt, right? I mean, like how we're playing this year, in my opinion, is the style of play is very different than what we played last year. So let's say you do that. People might argue with this, but let's say Dos Santos arguably does not play well in the system. Dos Santos doesn't play well alongside Cicerone and Dixon. If we sign Dos Santos's contract for 3 years, I mean,
that's literally committing to a system for 3 years.
Yeah, are we
playing?
Do. Probably not. I mean, it's so much of it is just constant turnover and just being able to set up a system with whoever becomes available. I think it's really complicated. I think it's not as easy as like they're good, so let's sign them more. I mean, it has knock-on effects to a lot of different parts of the club.
Yeah, and also that is like Cicerone, 26 years old, striker, like, I don't think he's getting an MLS contract. I don't. So he's not going to lead to the MLS. So therefore, if his ceiling right now is USL, we should sign him for longer if we can. But to counter that is, why would he do it? Like, we have to be able to give him something he can't get somewhere else. I mean, there is the argument that he is playing well. He's, there's also just the fact that, like, hey, you've been living here for a while now. Like, do you want to up and move, next year if you don't have to? And there's the assurance that you have a job by having, like, a steady contract that goes more than 1 year. So therefore, you're not scrambling every year, worried about if you're going to be able to make a living playing soccer. So it's a situation where I do think there are positives for the players. And I know the narrative is that, Bob kind of lowballs these players a lot. But at the same time, if I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit here, not even devil's advocate, just trying to see his point of view of it, is he knows that he can make another player what Cicerone is in his system. And he's shown it time and time again. And the last time we had a situation where we signed a player for a very long time, I think was Chevy. And that was a situation where I think it was with Dave Brandt when he was coach. He signed him for like 4 years or something like that, like right out of college. And then he ended up playing for like a season before that all went to crap and it fell through, and just kind of like he doesn't play now. So like we've been burned in this situation before. But I do think if we want to actually win the playoffs, we do need a team that is more than just good through the regular season, but also able to connect and be, cohesive like we've seen Louisville. So it's a lot to take into consideration.
I mean, the only player that has outlasted, there's two players that have outlasted the 2-year limit, it seems, for the Hounds, has been Kenny Forbes and Jordan Dover. And Dover has missed the majority of the season with an injury. Kenny has been with us all 4 years that Lily has been here.
Was that that wasn't their contract?
No, that wasn't the contract. It was just But I think that if given Lily the option of saying we're going to have Kenny Forbes retire here, he'd probably say great. Because we know, Jordan came on the show and told us how much Coach loves Kenny and makes it clear. But I'm wondering how much of that is more a function of the position that Kenny plays, and he can play in any system, versus something like a striker, which could be very, your output can be very conditional upon the system that you're playing in. And so you're better off having that flexibility to bring in somebody else if you really want to, whereas somebody in a midfield-ish position that can play either holding or attacking, you're going to need regardless of the style that you play. So therefore you sort of hold on to players like that. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Griffin at the end of the season, honestly, because this is his option year. And so what happens next season? Do we let him go? A la Ryan James, which is another one that I thought would have been oh yeah, he could play anywhere. He sticks around, but he went to Birmingham for money. So
do you guys remember the movie Rounders? I don't know if this is a too deep of a cut. Rounders, in that movie, it's like a poker movie. Matt Damon's in it, but in that movie, a rounder is a person who just kind of is playing poker with the grind. He's not trying to make it big or small. He's just day in and day out, the player's just constantly just rounding it out and always getting better than the average. Therefore, they're making a living, but not exactly trying to blow up and become super rich. I feel like Lily loves rounders. He loves people who are just going to show up, do good, but not necessarily, blow everyone's minds up. And those are his bread and butter players, like Forbes. And we've had those type of players here. I would say, anyone who's been here for multiple years and they retired here, Kevin Kerr, they're good players. And not I'm saying they're bad. It's just they're not trying to wheel and deal and climb the corporate ladder, if you will. But in soccer, they're just in and out, and that's why they're here. they're making that paycheck and they're doing their job well. And do we just have to be resigned to know that that's the kind of players that we're going to see stay here? And then Lily's going to sign young players who he can mold, or at least players that he sees that would fit his system. And they're going to come and go as they will, because he's always going to be able to find the next player that will do that for him.
Yeah.
I just think the finances are really hard. And especially coming off a year. This is a cop-out answer because we're assuming that this conversation is being taken place in a vacuum, which is not. But, coming off of COVID, do you really want to lock in a contract for 3 years? Probably not. You don't know what your finances are going to look like in a year. To have that flexibility of saying, we really need to cut back, and we can only sign players at this level or something.
Yeah. Real quick, thanks to Cicerone's 5 goals in the last 2 games. He now has 13 goals on the season, tied for second in the USL. His next goal will tie him with Corey Herzog for 6th on the team's list for a single regular season for league goals only. And 2 more goals ties him at 3rd with Jose Angulo and Nico Brett. So once again, those are names that were oh yeah, those guys were ripping it up. I feel like Cicerone sort of creeped in on that ripping it up thing. I know he's been doing really well, but I feel like there's more supporting players around him that we definitely didn't have with Nico Brett. It was if Nico wasn't scoring, we weren't scoring. And so the fact that Cicerone's doing it with some, other guys around him is really good.
I'll hedge my bets a little bit here and just say Cicerone is the best attacking Hounds player I've ever watched.
I was going to say, we got 10 games left. I think the odds of him getting 16 and passing all of those players by are pretty good. That's 3 more goals in the next 10 games.
I will say I want to know what their goals per game averages are, because in the past we've had smaller seasons, shorter seasons. So therefore, is a Robbie Vincent actually better if you look at goals per game than Cicerone when he's playing more games than what Robbie Vincent was playing. So like that's kind of my only caveat. Like I do think Cicerone is one of the best strikers we've ever had, like one of the best goal scorers we ever had. But I don't know if, in the grand scheme of things, if you're looking at that stat, if he is actually the best we've ever had, or going to be the best we've ever had.
Agreed. So the Hounds get the 3 points. If we look at the table briefly, it looks like Hounds still in second place, tied on 40 points with Tampa, but Tampa has 2 more games in hand that they have yet to play. So there's a chance that they can surpass those 40 points. Guys, it's starting to look like a breakaway with the top 3 teams. You have Miami at 37 with a game in hand on us. You have us at 40, you have Tampa at 40, and then you have Charleston at 28. So I think the odds of the Battery catching us are probably low, considering that really we got these 2 games this week, and then we are done with midweek games for the rest of the season. We can just focus on 1 game on the weekend, where a lot of these teams are not in that scenario. Obviously, Battery 3 games back on us right now. But by the end of this week, they might be 4 games back on us. I'd have to look at their schedule. So very interesting that it could come down to us and the Florida teams battling out for the top spot in the Atlantic Division. Any thoughts on the table, guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's a situation where I'm definitely thinking, we're battling for first or second, and neither one of them feels all that. I don't feel confident about either one of those. Like, first place with Tampa having games in hand on us, it's kind of like, I don't know. It doesn't feel. I'm not that confident about that. Second place feels pretty good, but they're creeping up. I mean, it's going to be a battle. Like we can't let off the gas. It's definitely going to be a situation where if we have a bad run anywhere in here, that could really mess it up for us, and we are not going to have the first home playoff game, which sucks. Like I really want first place or second place.
I will say, in 3 of our last 5 games of the season, we're going to play Miami twice and Tampa once. So, those are going to be some huge games. I mean, that's what, a 12-point swing if in Miami's case, where it's like we could get 6 and they get none. Like, that's huge. So, yeah, man, those, even though, we aren't going to have any midweek games, those last few games are going to be just massive. Watching down to the end. But it all starts this week, guys. We got 2 games, as I mentioned. We face New York at home this Wednesday night, and then we are traveling to San Antonio on Saturday. So starting with the New York game, New York are in a bit of a skid. They have not won since July 7th, and they are on a 6-game losing streak that started with us when we beat them 3-1 on July 23rd at MSU Park. And historically, we have won 5 straight against New York. So, if I put the number at 2.5, is anybody taking the under at this point, or do we just think that we're taking it?
No, I think we win.
I think we should win that one. It is a midweek game, though, so it is something to keep in mind. After a hard-fought game with Hartford, but I think we win that. Like I would bet on the Hounds.
How do you both feel about our squad depth right now?
Seeing players like Judge the past few weeks makes me a little bit nervous. It makes me wonder if
I don't get the whole Judge hate. I think Judge is fine. I think we haven't seen. I feel like we haven't seen enough of him to make a legitimate kind of call on him. But
I think we have. But it also makes me wonder whether or not we would see him if we weren't in this crazy stretch of however many games, like 9 games in a month or whatever it is that we're on. So, if we're saying that we are actually using 3 subs and, it's the Williamson, Velarde, and somebody else, Dover still isn't officially back yet because he hasn't had time to actually train with the team. It could be, you're bringing on Williamson, Velarde, and Rivera. Like, that feels like 3 pretty good subs. Subs 4 and 5, who really knows? Depends on the position. But Kev, since you asked the question, how do you feel about it?
I like it. I mean, I've been getting more and more confident with our kind of fringe players. I mean, I think at the beginning of the season, Perez starts as a fringe squad player, and now I'm very happy to see him start. If he starts any of the games. I mean, Wharton has been, I think, rock solid. He goes through stretches where he's a bit more effective and a bit less effective, but now that we essentially have three center backs and then like Cicerone up top, and then just literally reach in a bag and pull out six players and just throw them in there. That's what it feels like. And I feel good about the combination of all of them. I think the other thing is, I mean, Williamson in particular, I mean, he's a lone player, right? Like to be a lone player who's not starting every week, who's coming off and, as a sub with 15, 20 minutes in a game. I mean, to me, he still has the right attitude when he comes on. He looks aggressive and hungry, and he's you're not going to look that great when you're next to Cicerone and Dixon. But I don't know. I really like our squad depth and the options that we have. And they've been needed, I think, in the stretch, obviously, with all the midweek games.
I mean, it could be better. I mean, not as optimistic as Kevin in this situation, and especially with the injuries. We have Dikwa, we have Dover, Gatt, Robinson now, as well as on the injury list. So I don't know. Like it's a lot of injuries, and I do feel like we have the depth for some great subs. But like, if we're talking about rotation, squad rotation, I don't know if I would consider having great subs the same as having a depth for like two different squads coming in and out of the game, like playing every other game or anything like that. It's a couple of great subs, and that's about it, I feel like, at least. But it's been working, so it's hard to be too negative. Now, obviously, we did have a little bit of a run of bad games there for a little bit, but it could have been a lot worse. So not really complaining.
I mean, essentially, Josh, you just listed a bunch of guys who are hurt. If we had said it at the start of the season that we would have stretches without some of those guys, I think we'd be like, well, we're in previous seasons, we'd be like, we're hosed. So like the fact that the team has been able to play on through that just makes you wonder what they could do if some of those guys were still around and not hurt. So, if we said we'd be this far into the season and Dover really wouldn't have played, or Dikwa has been missing for the past few games, even Williams, I mean, we're carrying on. I know this was a stretch that Lily was really worried about. He said as much and brought it up as the point of discussion in his last call. So if we make it through this and have only dropped a few points, like, I think mission accomplished, guys. But what really counts now is these next 10 games and how we do down the stretch heading towards the playoffs. So, yeah. And when we head to San Antonio on Saturday, it's outside of our division, but those points still count. So just to sort of give you a little bit of an idea of who San Antonio are, obviously haven't watched really any San Antonio. They are currently fourth in the Mountain Division on 27 points. So if you're trying to compare them to some team that we've seen, Hartford, the Battery, Charlotte are all right around that 27 point mark. So they're not going to be pushovers. They're not Loudon, but they're going to be a team that's trying to get points because they're trying to stay above the playoff line as well. So if you average it out per game, I think they've played two less games than we have. So they basically have 1.5 points per game. We have 1.8 points per game, which, statistically, I don't think means a ton for most people. But if you're interested in sort of a preview of that game, Kevin is going to be joining our buddy Harry on Friday on the SA Soccer Roundtable to help break down the game. So Kev will bring the River Hounds stats inside of things, and Harry will bring the San Antonio side of things, and we'll just sort of see how it all shakes out prior to the game on Saturday.
I'll bring opinions. I don't know about stats.
I forgot. Stats implies work. That's right. So
I'll bring my feelings and reflections on the Hounds.
And this is a situation that really makes it so hard with the way the divisions are set up right now. Because, they're in fourth right now in the Mountain Division, but I don't know the Mountain Division. I don't know how good they are. I don't know how these teams would stack up against our division. Fourth place in an easy division, that's they're terrible. 4th place in a really hard division, that's great. Like, I don't know if this is a great division. Like, it's just super hard to figure out, and I don't know what to expect with San Antonio. It's all wishy-washy right now as far as like being able to compare their stats with ours or anything like that.
Yeah, it's something where, you know, the people who are sort of in the know seem to feel that the Atlantic Division is like the division at this point. They sort of, you know, loosely referred to as the division of death. So, you know, if you keep that in context, if we are battling for the top spot in the division of death, then you would hope that, you know, maybe San Antonio is a step maybe below Hartford or Charlotte, but who really knows? We won't know till we take the field on Saturday. So
that's a crazy thought, by the way, because like Central Division has Louisville, Birmingham, Indy 11. Like, I would have thought that was the division of death. Like, at the beginning of the season, like looking at the way they stacked up, I'm like, ooh, that's going to be a really rough division. We kind of got, you know, we still have Tampa Bay and like they're a great team, but like other than that, I wasn't really thinking our division was all that hard. But yeah, so that's kind of nice little surprise.
Yeah, I mean, when Indy's losing 6-2 to Atlanta too, it's kind of like what happened over in Indy. I think that's one of the big, I guess I'll say, regrets of this season is that, you know, we've become so accustomed to watching Louisville and watching Indy and sort of hating them while we see them that, like, I almost miss seeing a little bit more of them so that we can hate on them even more. But that's just kind of the way it is. I mean, Louisville, who everyone expects to be super dominant, has the same number of points as we do. So, like, it's not, yes, they played 2 less games. They're in the same boat as Tampa, but, like, we're right there with them. Indy's on 26 points. Like, they wouldn't even be above the line in our division at this point. So
I still hate Indy. I still hate you.
For sure.
Don't worry.
For sure. All right. Well, we've done this the past few games, so we'll do over under of these 2 games. We'll set it at 4.5.
I knew you were going to say 4.5. So 2 wins. That's what you're saying.
Wins. Yeah, that's what you're saying. Are we going to win?
There's not a lot of options here, Kev. Like, you want me to set it at 2.5? Like, does that make you feel 3? More comfortable?
3.5.
3.5?
Yeah.
Is that the same thing? Like, we have. Well, I guess it's a win and a draw.
So win and a draw.
Yeah,
so
it's a win and a draw.
All right, Kev, we'll make it 3.5. Are you taking the over or the under on 3.5?
Thank you. I'll take the over on 3.5, please.
So would you take the over on 4.5?
No, because I just feel like I'm never going to bet on
2 wins.
2 wins, one being an away game, far away game that I have no idea about.
Okay, so you'll take a win and a draw, Josh.
Especially after our performance against a 10-man Hartford for 60 minutes.
True, yeah. Josh,
to be fair, 10 men has been our kryptonite. Anytime the Hounds play a team that has a red card, we have never been good like the last couple of seasons. So it's expected. That's like,
is this my cue to say that, like, you know, playing against 10 men is actually really just as difficult as 11?
Is that something that happens a lot?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah. So the question is 3.5 points over or under. Yeah, I mean, I'm taking the over, but I'm actually not that confident because the fact that we're traveling so far away and not knowing San Antonio at all, like it feels like that game could just be a wash. It could just be a loss, and like, honestly, I don't know if like it's going to suck because we want every point we can get right now. But like in that situation, I don't know what to expect. Like it's like it could be a blowout for all I know. Like we could get there and they could be like complete and utter garbage, and it could be like we're playing Indy 11 for all I know and stomp them. So
yeah. I'll take the over. I think if nothing else, this will be the last game of like the crunch that has been the August sort of September push. So I think if nothing else, Lily goes in and says, we're walking out of here with at least a point. You shut it down and just play 10 men behind the ball and get a point, and we go home. And it's not pretty.
Shut it down.
Yeah.
And why would you? Is this Aroni and Dixon?
I mean, if you watch Ted Lasso, you know that parking the bus can sometimes lead to counterattack goals. So, you know. Spoiler alert for anyone who didn't watch Friday's episode. So yeah, yeah. I think we don't walk out of there with anything less than a point. Is I think what I was getting at. I hope, but we'll see.
I like that confidence.
Yeah. So that's what we think about the next two games. Let us know what you think. Guys, we got to talk about the Premier League a little bit. So first of all, reminder once again, join the Mongols Fantasy League. As we mentioned, our buddy and yours, Golden Glove winner Danny Vitiello, is there. Winners of the league this season will get some sort of cool Mongols swag. I am now pasting the join code right into our chat. So for those of you who are watching live, you can check it out on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. The link is there. It is also, the auto join code is 5ROWT8. So get into the league, win the league. We got a Mongols jersey. We got hats. We got socks. We got, I don't even know. We got all sorts of stuff here. So we're going to give something away. Guys, week 3 at the Premier League, Ronaldo, it's back in red, which
that's wild.
Is wild. Is Ronaldo going to make a difference in United though? Be honest.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think he makes a difference. I don't know how he doesn't make a difference. I don't know if I care that much about him being there, but he's going to make a difference, and he's going to make them a lot of money on kit sales alone.
Kit sales alone, yes, that will make a difference. But look, here's the thing. City bought Grealish and paid $100 million in transfer. Messi goes to PSG on a free. Ronaldo goes to United for 15 mil. What is going on in the transfer market?
Can someone explain what on a free really means in this? They're paying his sal. I don't understand. He didn't have a transfer fee, sure, but what are they paying him? Do we know that? Because
the kicker is just how much does the team have to pay the other team that currently has his rights? So yes, you're still going to pay a ridiculous whatever it is, however many 100,000 a week to sign the player, but
Ronaldo is getting about $500,000 a week.
Yeah. So, nothing major.
Yeah, whatever. It's just pocket change at this point. They don't need more. They don't need money at all right now. They could just be playing for free and still live comfortably for the rest of their lives, and so can their kids and their grandkids. So, who cares?
Yeah.
United was the only place Ronaldo could go in the newly fractured European club financial system.
You think so?
Yeah, PSG couldn't sign him because of Messi. They were already out of money, and they're trying to keep Mbappe and blah, 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 blah. City was interested, but all right, fine, no. Bayern Munich,
wait. Did City actually say no, or was he snatched from them?
No,
they felt like he was snatched from him.
They passed.
I thought it sounded like Ferguson got involved and called up Ronaldo and said, "Don't do that."
Look, at this point, it's all hearsay, right? The hearsay I heard, the hearsay I say was that City offered him a little less money than United, and so he went to United. But literally, no other clubs could afford him.
Right?
Chelsea maybe, but no one in Italy could afford him. Only Bayern Munich can afford him, and even at that, I think they've been financially responsible. No one in Spain was going to afford him, especially with Real Madrid looking at Mbappe. PSG was the only one in France that could have maybe done it, and then you have the United, City, and Chelsea in England. That was it. That was his only options. He couldn't have gone anywhere else.
Are we seeing the realm where, players like Messi and Ronaldo are getting to the point where this is it? They're not going to go anywhere else because literally they reached the peak of the money they're going to make.
Yes.
I know Messi talked about taking a 50% pay cut to stay at Barcelona, and they still couldn't keep him. But I'm sure he doesn't have a similar allegiance to PSG. Ronaldo has no allegiance to anyone. I think this is sort of the swan song, starting at United and finishing at United. So,
next stop MLS. That's all of them. I'm surprised. Ronaldo actually. I'm like, you know what? Retirement league. Time to go, buddy.
Inter Miami, man. Go with Beckham. Honestly, Ronaldo with Beckham. There's a move right there. So.
It's gonna happen. Like, I know you're shaking your head, Kevin. Like, oh no, like they're gonna end up in MLS.
That's fine.
Playing.
Look, they might end up MLS, but they'll end up in MLS at like 42. Like,
Yeah,
Ronaldo like has made like he still wants to win a Ballon d'Or. Like he's not gonna do
It's
that.
nice to want things.
All right, I'm typing right next to the microphone, which I know is terrible. Ronaldo's 36 years old.
Yeah.
Messi is 34 years old.
And
They
Both
both
of them
end
are
up in
still
MLS
younger
before
than
40.
me.
Before 40, they both end up in the MLS. I bet you within the next 3 years.
the only way they end up at MLS is like 39 and a half. Like that's it.
I don't know, man. Look, how long do you think? Look, United
Have you seen Ronaldo without a shirt? That's all I'm like.
Yes, but listen,
okay.
United had. I was talking to a buddy of mine at work who's been a United follower since he was a kid. United have a deep squad. Like I don't know where Ronaldo fits in, and I don't know where Ronaldo fits in 3 years from now.
Come on,
like
this is Messi and Ronaldo, arguably the greatest players to ever play. And by the way, Ronaldo still like set Italian records in the past two years at Juventus. This guy isn't like off his he's slightly off his game, which at his peak was the greatest player ever. Ronaldo will score 20 goals this season and really, really make United title contenders without a doubt.
Okay, but there's one thing that you're not considering, and I feel like you keep on talking about how good they are, which great, they're good, but I'm talking about how much money they're going to get. And what I'm saying is MLS is willing to pay a lot of money to get these big stars in their league to promote their league. So like, yeah, they're like the fact that Ronaldo still has, a situation where he wants to achieve something. You're right. That makes him not likely to come to MLS. But as soon as it becomes a money only game, MLS is going to be like, oh, sure, we'll pay a crap ton of money just to get a star in here so that we can sell a whole bunch of MLS kits. Like, it doesn't really matter about how good they are. It matters about how much money they want. And it's going to come to a situation where MLS doesn't really have all these issues with like player salary caps and all that crap because it's a designated player. They're just going to pay a crap ton of money just to get their names in there so that way they can sell stuff.
I will willfully admit I don't know the ceiling that MLS clubs have at their disposal to pay a player salary like Ronaldo or Messi. I agree with that. But my point comes back to the fact that there are, in my opinion, only 4 or 5 clubs in the entirety of Europe that he can even afford them to start with. That's what I'm like. Does MLS really have that money? Is an MLS club really going to pay Ronaldo $25 million a year?
It's not an MLS club. It's the MLS because it's single entity. It's all one giant club as far as money pool goes. Right. Like they can totally be like, hey, we're going to make up some BS rules like they always do about GAM and TAM and all these other allocations of cash. Be like, hey, the whole league just paid a crap ton of money to get Ronaldo because they know that's going to make the league look better. So they're just going to pool their money and buy a giant player. And it doesn't really matter about the club he goes to because they're all paying for his salary.
I have learned something today. That's interesting.
Well, here's the other thing, and I know your guys are both going to say like, yeah, of course, but like, if you're a league trying to argue for your legitimacy, what does having a 39-year-old Ronaldo or a 39-year-old Messi do for your image when they come and play? Because look, there are people that know soccer, and then there's people that know like almost nothing about soccer. The people who know nothing about soccer know who Messi and Ronaldo are. They know those names. So like, I don't know. I don't think it's a good move, but my point is that like I could see a world where MLS says like, thanks, but no thanks. We don't want to pay you $500,000 to come play for us. But
Mike, Ronaldo?
I'm being too naive. Like it's not. Ronaldo, that would be like Ronaldo coming and play for the Hounds. Like that would never ever happen because like the two, like Ronaldo would never come play for the Hounds, and the Hounds would never pay for Ronaldo. Is there a world in that Ronaldo says I will never play in MLS, or MLS says I will never pay for Ronaldo?
We had Zoltan in MLS. Like it takes a big name. And there's very few big names anymore that I feel like Americans know. Like That's why they paid a crap ton of money for Beckham, because Beckham was the biggest name in soccer. That's why they paid the biggest cash for Wayne Rooney, because Wayne Rooney was a name that even Americans knew. So you actually need these players that people outside of the soccer sphere know, because that's the only players that are going to grant or give you more clout as a league for Americans. So like you need
and
Ronaldo
for the world.
Well, for the world, yeah, but honestly, they're paying this money for these old timer players not because of wanting clout with the rest of the world. They want American fans who are going to show up to games, be like, "Oh, I've heard of Ronaldo. I know that name. I play FIFA. Like that's a big name. Like, and that takes Wayne Rooney's and Beckham's and Zoltan's. Like that's why they pay the stupid price for these players, even though they're not the greatest as they used to be. Ronaldo still is good. That's why I'm saying a couple of years from now. But like that's the way it goes. So they're going to pay the big salary. They're going to pull all their money, buy the big player, throw him in one of the clubs that they want to go to. Like, hey, what city do you want to retire in? And that's the city that they go to. So that's why Miami will probably get one of the big players, because that's a good retirement city. So
and Ronaldo can just stand there. Look, my point being, Ronaldo is the most followed person on social media. Period. Yeah. More than Kim Kardashian, more than Kanye, more than whoever the hell. Ronaldo is the most followed person on the social media. He brings a huge audience with him. And so if I'm the MLS, if he scored 5 goals at United and I got a chance to sign him after his contract, geez, sorry, lightning's going over.
I was gonna say, that storm's been going on behind you for a while.
I've been watching that storm behind
drop off. Yeah. Okay, so we're thinking it happens. We went from like, let's talk about Ronaldo at United to Ronaldo's coming to the MLS in a few years, guys. The other storyline, the big story. I think there's lots of storylines in the Premier League. First of all, I think every single year I forget about it, that the international break always just happens. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, we're just getting into the good stuff. And I feel like that this is the country's ways of saying like, no, don't lose focus on us. Like, we know you're having fun, but we're going to take your players away. And I know the league was trying to stop players from traveling because of COVID restrictions, they're going to miss the following week. Villa is running into that with 2 of their starters now who are going to be out. So that's no fun. The other big storyline, Arsenal are currently in dead last. They will be playing against 19th place Norwich in 2 weeks when we come back for the best of the worst. Does anybody have any sympathy for Mikel Arteta at this point?
No.
No.
I do.
All right, tell me why, Kev.
Well, no, just because
I don't.
I don't look. I'm not an Arsenal fan. I'm not deep into their fan culture, but it feels reminiscent to a time just after I started following Liverpool, where it just like things just felt wrong throughout the entire club. Like it wasn't just the manager, it wasn't just the players, it wasn't just the owners, it wasn't just the like ownership structure or the like, should they have a sporting director or shouldn't they have a sporting director? Like if everything was just toxic, and it's like I don't know how they fix it. I honestly don't. I don't think throwing cash at it is going to solve it. I don't think switching managers is going to solve it. I don't particularly think Arteta is like the greatest manager, but like I don't know how they fix it. So that's why I feel bad. Like because as an Arsenal fan, I have no idea what. I mean,
one of the tried and true things as someone who's been watching EPL for a while is like watching Arsenal fans just be viciously evil towards their club because they hate the people who own the club. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's a situation where it's just Arsenal TV is a meme at this point, where you just watch Arsenal TV because you want to see a whole bunch of British people be really pissed off at their club. And it's just hilarious because they just are the most vicious I've ever seen. Like even as an Everton fan, like we're not the greatest club, but like you see like, the People's Club and like they're very much into like, the ownership and like feeling like the club is with the city and blah, blah, blah. But like with Arsenal, you don't get that at all. Like the Arsenal fans are just like, this team is crap. This owner's crap. I hate everything about it. Like, help us. Get us out of this hell. That's the way they always act. So, like, I don't know. It's just more of the same from Arsenal as far as I'm concerned.
Well, like with the like from the outside looking in, the Everton perspective, it seems like you guys. I don't really know how to like quote unquote fix Everton if fixing them would make them a top 4 team. I don't necessarily know what the answer to that is, but at least it feels like Everton from the outside looking has a stable footing. Like it doesn't feel like you guys are sinking. It doesn't feel like anything's toxic necessarily. It just maybe the puzzle pieces aren't working right now.
We're not as rich as the other clubs, so therefore we can't be the top 4. It's a money's game completely with Everton. It's not a hearts and minds situation.
So where was the? Oh, there's Laura Ellen's message that this is capitalism. Yeah, it is.
That was MLS, which
that was what MLS. We're going to reuse it here. Yeah. No, I think part of not that I'm reveling in their misfortunes, and we did the same thing about Man United last year, and they turned it around and ended up top 4. So like, who knows what's going to happen here with Arsenal? What I hate to see is when decisions that are made that impact young players' futures. So, you have a player like Emile Smith-Rowe who, I know so much about just because Villa went after him and Arsenal fought so hard to keep him, and they signed him to a longer term deal. They gave him their number 10. They said, you are going to be our new creative guy. And now Arteta's out there trying to get Odegaard, or already got him, and said he's a special player and he's gonna basically play the number 10 role and push Emile Smith-Rowe out of that position.
I mean, last weekend they played in the same starting 11.
But Smith-Rowe was not in the spot that it sounded like he was told he would have. And it was just like, no, we're gonna spend more money and bring in somebody else, and we're gonna push you out wide, and you're gonna be happy about it. And it's like,
sounds like you just wouldn't have this complaint if Villa had Smith-Rowe.
Yeah, probably, because then they're not pushing these young. Look, Villa started a 17-year-old as their central midfielder this week, and he did fine. So yeah, listen. I will say this: I am very last year you guys tried talking me into being an Arsenal supporter, and I said sure. And 1 week later, I came back. I was like, I'm gonna change my mind, guys. I'm gonna go with Villa instead. And you guys laughed at me, but I'm still happy about it.
I do want to say one thing because I know Laura Ellen is listening. Everton played Brighton, and they won 2-0, and it was a fun game to watch. I'm sorry, Laura Ellen.
As she also points out, it feels like Laura Allen's just on the show. We just need to have her on the show one of these weeks. I love how Mike went from no EPL team to 200% Villa support. Yeah, that's right. That's how I roll. You had to know this was going to happen. A few years ago when I started supporting Spurs, it was the same thing. And then they brought in Jose Mourinho, and I was like, I'm out. I am not doing that.
How do you think this podcast started?
Exactly. We were from 0 to we're going to have a podcast about this team.
Literally, Mike went from what's USL to hey, let's start a website that has 200 people contributing fan podcasts and articles because he got into the Hounds one year. Dipped his toe into the fandom.
It all started because Kevin and I went to a Hounds game and we're BSing the whole time. And we were like, we should just record this. And then Josh came along and was like, I've been doing this for years. And we were like, hey, want to do it with us?
We went to one game and just thought, we know more about this than anyone else. We should talk about it.
Who's the Steel Army?
What? Oh my god. That right there is the past 5 years in a nutshell. Done and done.
We're frauds. It's finally
That's right. We are total frauds. Oh my gosh. All right, guys, anything else for this one? There's no EPL this weekend, but we got a Hounds game on Wednesday and we got a Hounds game on Saturday. Looking forward, Kevin, to you chatting with Harry. Hi, Harry. Saw you pop into the show here.
It's probably going to be a wet one. Just be warned right now. Wednesday's game is looking like the weather is going to be atrocious. Hopefully it's just rain, no thunder, because, it's going to be a downpour from the looks of it. So tailgate is probably going to be pretty much just tailgate zone this week, which is, I don't know if you guys know what the tailgate zone is, but the Hounds are starting to do the tailgate zone where they just have food trucks because we're not going to have the grill. It's a weekday game, and it's probably going to be hurry up, get into the stadium, get under cover for a little bit, and then as soon as our game starts, let it rain.
Feels like the past few times we played in New York, it's just been miserable. I think the last game was delayed, wasn't it, at MSU?
Sounds right, so.
Yeah. So bring your
ponchos. The game happens. Yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully the game happens because, I don't want to have a rescheduled game.
Agreed. It'll be great to get out of this stretch. So next time we talk, 1 game a week only moving forward, which will be great. So
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think it's time to say goodbye. Thank you to everyone who joined us live. Thank you to everyone that listens. Make sure you go over to mongols.com, click on support the show to become a Patreon follower. Weekly reminder, as always, that Black Lives Matter as we get to all of the sponsors. Thank you to our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, official scarf supplier to USL, MLS, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. Tired of the same old uniforms of cookie cutter templates from Nike and Adidas? Looking for a unique, completely custom kit for your youth club, Sunday league squad, adult, or even pro team? Icarus FC can help you create the kit of your dreams at an affordable price. Let them help you design your new custom kit today at IcarusFC.com. Looking for more great USL news? Head over to the BGN.FM, where we've got over 100 fans that are writing and podcasting about the beautiful game. Lots of amazing features that go up on the site every single week. Check them out at bgn.fm. Otherwise, thank you, everybody. We will talk to you, as always, very, very soon.
Cheers.
Later.
That was so